Hi there, my name is Cupicate and welcome back to Planet Zoo. Right now we're watching Crow, one of our calves, run around in the new foliage. Here's Frost, living up to his name right now. He is loving the snow and he's about to go for a dip. Oh, they love this cold weather. Then we have Tulip. Tulip loves to be around her family, I've noticed. Always looking for them, wanting to be in the big group. I think she feels safer there. Then we have Delphi. Delphi loves to run and explore, especially since I updated the foliage, which I think I did a pretty good job. So let's get into the rest of this build. Before we get to the beautiful foliage that I did for our caribou, I did want to finish the inside of the barn. And I'm really excited and proud to say that I did finish the actual building of the barn in this episode. So you'll get to see me fill in the walls. I'm gonna add a floor where we can put some hay in the next part of this, which I think is cool for a little tidbit of realism. Like I said, I'm not going to be able to do full realism. I don't want to hold myself to that expectation. There are some YouTubers that take that very, very seriously. So I don't want to say this is realism lest I get in trouble. But right now I'm just adjusting a few things because the floor did make some things look a little weird, especially the entrances and the exit of the barn. I added some wood supports to the roof. Do I know how these wood supports are being held up? No. If y'all have any ideas for that, I would be happy to change these supports. I just thought they looked really neat. Kind of gave me the Skyrim feel that we're kind of going for with this barn in particular. And getting those things to look unique all the way through, I was a little worried about, but they did kind of. I didn't see too many repeating textures, which I try really hard to avoid when I'm building any part of the zoo. Now I'm bringing some of the details into the top floor that we have on the bottom floor, adding these really, really pretty pillars that come in the Arctic pack. While I do believe using different items from different packs can make a build look unique, that isn't exactly what I was going for with this barn. I want kind of some uniformity. Is that a word? Did I make that up? When you're going for a build like this that's supposed to look weathered and where maybe they didn't have as many options to build a barn, especially like back in the day, it's all like one wood, it looks very weathered. That's kind of what I was going for. So there isn't a lot of like contrasting colors or anything. It's all this very gray brown. But the cool thing is the foliage that I add into the caribou habitat really contrasts with the barn. So you kind of get that they're both beautiful because of that contrast of the vibrant greens of the habitat against the very brown gray of the barn. I then decided to add some edges or the Arctic beams to the side of the floor and the top of the walls, just to give it a little texture. Small details like these might go unnoticed and seem so minute, but even to the subconscious eye, I think it makes it look so finished, where it's not just there with nothing against it. I think that it would be more realistic to have a beam and not just a wall sticking up out of the ground. I then made a ladder. I was really proud of this silly little ladder. I was kind of thinking, I want the staff to be able to store hay up there because it is really common in barns to have hay stored on the top floor. And not just hay, we could also have crates up there that store extra enrichment items if our caribou happen to break the ones they have, or some that they don't have that we could cycle out because zoo animals do get tired of enrichment items after a while. Also things like decorations. especially like holiday decorations. I think that they would store that stuff at the top and have it there to take out when the season changes and the holidays come into town. I genuinely wish I had added a little bit more to our staff area, but I was so focused on getting the build itself done, I figured that stuff could be added a little later. But I did have a little bit started. I even, later in the video you'll see, I put a Christmas reindeer statue that looks like it's made of wicker, I think. It's really cute, but it definitely looks like a holiday decoration. I moved that down into the bottom floor staff area, kind of like they're prepping for the holidays, because it is October, and the holidays, I mean, are right around the corner, including Halloween, which is literally right around the corner. Pretty excited for that. I wonder if we can add some Halloween builds to this somewhere. That would be really, really cool, and I think y'all would enjoy that. So now we're gonna take a quick pause. I'm gonna let y'all watch the rest of this, and I will come back when we get started on the foliage. So just enjoy the music and hang out until you hear from me again. Finally, we're getting into the foliage. I start by adding some trees because they are the biggest plant, and it's kind of better to have them and then build around them. At least that's how it works best for me. Although, I really struggled with tree placement because if I had my way, there'd be trees everywhere. Well, the guest can't really see if there's too many trees, so you'll see me adjust a few of them here and there because the guest legit could not see at all, and I think they were pretty upset with me. I wonder, how do y'all feel about foliage? I know that some people just excel with it, adding it to the habitats, and I know others have struggles. I'd love to hear what you think about adding foliage if you play Planet Zoo. Do you struggle with it, or do you feel like that's the best part in your builds? I want to know. Feel free to put that down in the comments. I would absolutely love to hear that. Also, as a very, very quick side note, I wanted to thank everybody that left name suggestions, and I was able to use several of your names, so I really appreciate that so much. If we have any more baboos, y'all are free to add more name suggestions in the comments below. I would love to see your ideas, and I'm sure we will have more caribou babies in the future. So for this, I think fallen logs look really, really cool. I also was thinking caribou-wise, they might enjoy jumping over them and getting that exercise in, which is one of the reasons I also made this habitat so large. These are large animals. They need a lot of space to move around, and I wanted to give them that in more ways than one. I added several rock piles here and there that they could climb up on and jump down. I'm just thinking lots of exercise. They're gonna need to move around. They need that exercise to stay strong. They need it to help their babies grow, and the calves love the rocks. You'll probably see later on when I unpause to get more money that they'll hop on the rocks and jump down. I think one of our calves actually jumps up on the rock nearest to the bridge, like they're saying, "Hi there." It's really, really cute. I do enjoy adding rocks as well. Again, it's that texture thing that you really want to see some variation in leveling. This is very, very flat ground because I chose the flat world instead of the sculpted because the sculpted intimidates me so very much for some reason. I know there are several builders that love the sculpted terrain and they just work around it beautifully. I don't know how to do that yet. I'm still very much learning in Planet Zoo, and the sculpting I've barely even touched, and I'm struggling alone with just the water. So let me get the water down and then maybe I'll try some sculpting. I would love to make some bear caves, and we will have bears in the Kiba's Kingdom portion of this zoo, which will be right next after Calder's Keep is done. Although Calder's Keep is probably going to keep us entertained for a little bit because we have a lot to build for not just habitats, but for our staff and for our guests. And speaking of which, our staff center needs some help. It's literally just the white buildings. It's not very good. I'm pretty sure they're upset with me. Like, the caribou gets such a nice habitat and we're stuck with these pre-manufactured buildings. Oh, I feel bad for them. So we'll probably, in the next couple of episodes, be working on giving our staff and guests a better view around the zoo and not just the beautiful habitat that is the caribou right now. I think we're going to stick with this theme possibly for our staff center. If we don't, I'll incorporate it into what I want the entrance to look like. But the entrance is going to be its own can of worms to open. I've never successfully built an entrance that I liked before, so it's going to be a real challenge to finally take all of the skills that I have gained from playing at Planet Zoo into making a beautiful and really captivating entrance for our guests and for us, because we're going to have to look at it. So right now I'm adding some coolers into the habitat so I can dust everything with a little bit of snow. Again, texture is everything. I'm going to say that a lot in this video because I want to use any of my experiences and my knowledge of what I have learned so far in Planet Zoo and give it to y'all if you ever play this game or have played this game and you're looking for a little advice. Also, big thing here, I jumped so far away from realism doing this foliage. So realistically speaking, our caribou would likely eat all the grass. There would probably be very, very little grass in the habitat because they'd either eat it or trample it. But I really wanted this to look pretty. So even with that knowledge, I was like, nah, they're gonna get so much food. They're not gonna need to eat the grass. It'll be fine. So that was my explanation for why there was grass everywhere. I did add some flowers. Again, texture. Texture is everything. I'm going to be repeating myself. Please forgive me. I do that anyway, y'all. It's that ADHD that I forget what I already said, so I say it again. I also wanted to add some of that cute moss. It's really, really pretty on the rocks with the pink flowers. I added another little pond over here, like a little offshoot from the river. It gets water in it if the river ever floods just a little bit. And I added a cooler over here to get a little more snow in. Plus that the snow will really make the guest feel engaged, like they're a part of the world that caribou in the wild would live in, even though they live in a barn as well. So we're kind of getting the best of both worlds, that they have a life of domestication in some places, but they also have a life out in the wild. So the habitat outside is supposed to show the wild, whereas the barn is supposed to show the other side of caribou, which is the domestication. Y'all, I'm just going crazy with this buffalo grass. Buffalo grass is probably my favorite plant in the entire game because it is so incredibly versatile. It can go anywhere, and most of the animals don't mind the buffalo grass, so it can really add that difference between the long grass terrain. Gives it a little more texture. Huh, funny. I did add some more caribou into the habitat. You probably just saw that just now. There's so much space that in the details of each animal, it was saying that there was way more space than how many animals were in there. So I thought it wouldn't hurt to add a few more females, possibly get some more calves in here. I will keep a close eye on how they're feeling about space because it's really important not to overcrowd any of our animals in the zoo. But I want them to have a herd as well, and since they do have the space that I gave them, we're gonna actually have a herd in this pretty soon. We already have 4 calves. I think we have at least 5 females, maybe 6 females. I'm not 100% sure. I think it might be 6 females. So that's gonna be a lot. Unfortunately, our 2 male calves will have to be removed from the habitat once they are grown because the males will fight for dominance over the herd, and I don't want anyone to get hurt or injured, which can happen if the animals fight in Planet Zoo. And now you can see that I did actually press play while I was doing this because I was running out of money. Probably all the buffalo grass I bought was just really causing some issues with my finances. I try really hard not to record if it's snowing or raining. There were a couple times during this recording that I had to just stop and wait. And I'd press the speed up button, of course, but yeah, I had to stop and wait several times because it would snow and rain. The cool thing is, though, I got some more like mechanic research and vet research done during this time. That was nice. Also, we were able to grow some of our caribou, and hopefully our new females will have some babies at some point. I did slow down the aging. I believe that the aging is way too fast and it causes me a lot of heartache because I'm like, oh, I just got attached to this animal and they died. So I slowed it down. It's at a 3 instead of a 1 right now. It's not as slow as 5 because, you know, we do want to see our herds and our packs grow and age and see new ones come in, but I also want to have them long enough where I can enjoy what animals we do have. I'm adding a little bit more of this, I think it's the cowberry bush, I want to say. I'm not 100% sure. It looks kind of mossy. I thought it would be perfect around and maybe even on top of the rocks. I'm adding more coolers. I wanted there to be snow almost everywhere, but I had to be careful because the guest will get so cold if you have a cooler with the range too high and too close to the guest in general. But there's patches of snow just about everywhere, so it just looks like maybe under the trees and around the rocks, since the rocks would be colder than the rest of the land. That's where all the snow is. Adding some leaf piles under our orange trees also gave some variation in color, a contrast from the green. I added caribou moss because, of course. It also added some contrast to the green, which I thought was nice. Again, it causes texture, and that contrast is really pleasing to the eye as well. So these are things to think about if you are building a habitat. Think about contrasting colors. I wasn't going for that with the buildings itself, but I definitely wanted to show that off in the foliage part of this habitat. I will say I absolutely adored seeing our caribou run around while I was doing this. It was really showing me how this foliage makes a difference with them walking through it, and the tallness of some grasses and the shortness of others. And then we're getting into the river. I was really excited for this part. So as I said in the first episode, I kind of wanted to make this river look like some of the rivers I've seen in Colorado. Most of them are rocky, and I wanted rocks everywhere. And I think I accomplished that. I might have made it a little too rocky. But with the clear water and all the rocks, it really just said Colorado. And I got to bring a little bit of my home into this habitat, which I think is always fun to do. And another fun tip that I learned from other YouTubers is that with rocks and with grass, honestly with anything foliage, including trees, make sure that you adjust their height on the terrain. You can lower them where you see less of the item into the ground, or you can really just lower them. If you heighten them, it looks like it's floating. So lowering them at different variations makes this look really unique. And on like the higher edges of the river, you wouldn't want like big rock piles. You would want them to sink in quite a bit, so that it looks like there's only a few rocks in some places and a lot of rocks with others. You can kind of see where I did it in this part a little bit. There's like little bits of pieces that have come out of the ground. I love it for texture. I should just name this episode texture at this point. It's the texture episode. I've said that word so many times. I need a texture counter. So yes, lots and lots of rocks. I think this rocks thing goes on for a little bit. I wanted the bottom of the river to have the most rocks with only a little bit on the side. I think I played with putting a lot of rocks by the dam part of this, but then ended up deciding not to because there does need to be water flow that makes sense. Hence why I added the bars underneath the wall that's right next to the bridge. So it actually looks like water is flowing through, even though we have a small bit of a dam. I added some rocks into our little pond up there. I added the littler ones because there's two options with the aquatic pack. There's like the big ones, which I used in the beginning, and then there's littler ones, which is really cool for adding a little bit of variation. Then I went into the terrain part and I added just some short grass here and there along the lines of the terrain, and just patches even in the big parts because there would be variation of tall and short grass realistically. So that was my thought process. I don't know if I love how it turned out, but I would be curious to know what y'all think. I fixed up some of the places where there was just random soil and added grass, and then I textured them some more with the buffalo grass because buffalo grass is for a win. I also ended up moving the gate. I didn't really like that the gate was so close to where our guest could access it, and later on I may even add like a tiny little hut that hides the gate, and it will match our barn, obviously. I just don't love the gates being in complete view of the guest. I know they don't care. It's just every zoo I've been to has always been very careful to hide where their staff entrances are, probably because they don't want random people trying to get into the habitats because that'd be dangerous. I mean, they've got locks, right? But it wouldn't stop people from trying. So hiding that just seems like a better option to me. And I did that a little bit with this. It's going to be kind of harder to hide just a gate, but I think a hut will do it. I think if I add a hut, it will do it. Also hinges. Use the hinges, y'all. They look so cool. I don't know why I have hinges on both sides, but that's what I decided to do, I guess. Now that I'm thinking about it, not a good idea. And then I played with the effects a little bit. I've never played with the effects before, so I have no idea if this actually looks good. I thought it looked pretty good. Like the water rushing over the rocks, you know, rapids. That's also really common in rivers in Colorado. We have a lot of rapids. In fact, in a city, in Canyon City, there is a rapid ride you can go on. You can hire a guide and you get to sit in a raft with a whole bunch of people and go over these rapids. It's really neat. I've never been on it, but it always looks really fun. I've been down there during open season and everyone looks like they're having a blast. I also added some fun little flying pollen. We have so many flowers in this build. I'm like, of course we're gonna have pollen. I can already feel my nose tickling from the pollen, even though this is a game. I added some mist because with the rapids, water would splash against the rocks. So I thought mist made sense. And then I finally finished the other side with the other wall, added some iron bars so it looks like the river is flowing through that as well. I don't know if I'm going to extend the river into any other habitats, but just in case, I wanted to make sure it looked open and it didn't just stop, because technically the river, even though it's very small behind this wall, if I want to extend it, it gives me an opportunity. Ooh, this part is a fun one. So the donation bins are really lame looking, but funnily enough, I think that Planet Zoo made them lame looking so that we could customize them in any way we wanted to. If they were excessive in their detail, we wouldn't be able to customize and we'd just be stuck with this and not get to change it. So I took some of the African logs, which look really cool. I love their weathering on each side. And I just made a circle. It's really a simple design. I've seen some way better designs, but I thought keeping it simple for this build, especially since the barn is so extravagant and our foliage is so extravagant, I just wanted to do logs. I've seen people hide the top sign as well. I don't know how they do it, but I'd love to figure that out. I added some deer signs from, I think, the European pack. Those are technically, I think, fallow deer signs, but you know, they looked cool, and who's to tell if it's a fallow deer or a caribou? It's a deer with antlers. I didn't think it mattered. I don't think anyone's gonna be like, gasp, you're using the wrong deer. It's cool lights and it will really kind of attract people to the front of this barn. It gives them the knowledge that, oh, we can go in, there's lights here. I added a few lights to the top as well. Lights in the Arctic pack is literally fire. And I'm like, no, fire would burn this whole thing down. So I went with the eco-friendly lights instead. And now for the education boards. I don't like to use the standard education board with just the stands unless it would make more sense for the build. I wanted to do something simple but unique. So I added a rock slab. I'm not sure which pack that's from. And then I added the little pillars that we've used all over the barn build just to add a sense of unity to everything. I can't find my words today, y'all. But now we have some more unique signs that can go in without being too extravagant and distracting from the habitat while it still looks unique and not just a TV on stands. I was super nervous that it was going to block the path in here, but it didn't seem to as I was watching all of the guests pass by. I think they still have plenty of space. I wanted to make the paths larger specifically for them to have more space because having the guest crowd in one area causes a lot of problems with them getting stuck, and boy do they get stuck. The guests in this game are not very intelligent. I feel bad for saying that, but they're not. And to finish up a little bit of details in the barn, I added some benches, fixed the terrain, and that's pretty much the end of this video. I really hope y'all enjoyed it. I hope you like the foliage I did. I really had fun playing with it. Let me know if you enjoyed seeing the foliage or if that's something you'd want me to skip. I am really happy to adjust any of these episodes for y'all's entertainment. I'm having so much fun doing this, y'all. It's been a long time since I have had fun and not been burnt out. So again, if you liked it, tickle and poke that like button, subscribe to join our family if you haven't already, and jingle the bell so you're notified with the next Planet Zoo episode. I love you guys. Thanks again for watching, and I will see you next time. Bye!